Okay. Oh, no, I just have to say God.
Got it.
Okay.
Good job.
Don't.
Good job, Wendy.
All right,
I got
thank you.
fired.
That, you just lost your most important job here.
Good afternoon, Senate institutions. It's February 23rd on a Friday, TGIF. It's been a long week, it seems. We're gonna spend some time with Scott Moore from Joint Fiscal Office, Legislative Fiscal Manager. We're gonna do a walkthrough on our February 21st updated spreadsheet. So, Mr. Moore, welcome. Thank you for coming in.
Of course. For the record, Scott Moore, Joint Fiscal Office. I did want to just take a moment and talk about the latest version of the spreadsheet. I did update this on the 21st, and I put the updated date at the very top of the page just so everyone can follow along and make sure that they had the most up-to-date version. So, to give you a little bit of a background, and I don't want to put any words in Chair Emmons' mouth, but just to give an idea of what she was thinking. She is going to possibly start doing some markup, she said this morning, on the capital bill later on next week. And as part of that, she wanted to make sure that the committee understood the full range of dollar amounts that were allocated for each of these different groups. Which is why originally I put the CAF section up from down below section 18 into different areas, just so they can see. So the next thing she asked for was take any money that was appropriated from ARPA dollars, so that way they could see where their dollars associated with any of these projects from ARPA. So I spent, as you said, weekend looking at all the different acts from beginning to end, just to make sure I captured all of them. Both I got everything. So I followed the dollars. So you'll see here, there are two brand new columns right after the description. So between column D and F. Two columns labeled ARPA, one of which is Act 83, which was House Bill 679. That was the Budget Adjustment Act for that year. And then the second column is Act 185 or House Bill H 479, which was the big bill from 2020.
So, yes, please, sir.
So is this budgeted or expended?
We can go through and talk about them.
Okay.
'Cause I have heard different testimony the past few weeks about who's done what with.
Okay.
So I don't know the answers to all of them, but I know we can talk about that. So, with that said, if we go down to line 14, that's the very first one we'll see here.
Before we get started
Yes,
on
sir.
it, can I ask a question about? And you're new as well, so I get that. So if you don't know the answer. What I'd like to do, I think, because it's a biennium bill, and we've already reported on FY 24 last year.
Right.
When we report this on the floor, is it a taboo just to report FY 25 without having reference to 24?
That's a great question. I apologize in that I don't know if it's a taboo, but I'm happy to just get some feedback from my predecessor just to see what the dynamics might be, what that might look like. I don't know, but I'll definitely find out.
Would you, if you would please, because where we ran into the biggest problem, and the committee is very well prepared on it, because I've warned them before that we had many more questions when we reported it the previous biennium, not last year, but the previous 23's budget, where they asked more questions about the previous year that was out there than the year that we were actually reporting.
Right.
And which caused a big, problem. So we just want to make sure that if we don't need to reference FY 24 on the floor, which I really have a hard time understanding why we might, because we already reported on that. I would just soon have a sheet that would just reference FY 25.
Yeah, I'm happy to look into that for you.
Thanks.
Can I ask you a follow-up to
Of course
that?
you can.
Which is, I'm always interested to know what we actually spent, and in 24, we're not finished, obviously.
Correct.
But if there's a projection of where the expenditure is going to end up, I mean, that's how I would see, that would be a relevant question.
Well, I was mentioning to Sharon was earlier, I've been watching testimony here between this committee and committee in the House, just to make sure I caught any capital related items that I hadn't been able to be in committee for. And I do remember hearing this committee, I believe it was, maybe it was yesterday, maybe it was last week, I don't remember. But we talked about the repo subcommittees upstairs. And those repo subcommittees, I prepared some reports that show how much money was allocated to these different projects and how much money has not been spent in the past couple of years. And part of the process that I will work on is going to different agencies to say, have you spent it? Where's the money? What's the expenditure? And to be able to pull that back. I know, I think it was, you were here with Nick Kramer, and you asked the question, could you prepare something that I just said? Here's what was allocated, here what was spent, here's what was left. Is there a simple?
Yes,
They could do.
okay,
I'll check with Nick just to see if he's made progress on that, or if that's something that he wants to pull together, something like that.
that'd be great. Thank you.
It all goes back into the capital bill again anyway.
Right,
So-
right, but then we know what. we can
Well, what
prepare.
you'll see is you'll see a line, you'll see its own line.
Recap, right.
Yeah.
Recapture line.
Yeah, okay,
Okay,
Great. With that said, we can, if we jump to line 14 on page 1, we have a $600,000 line item for the statewide 3-acre parcel stormwater planning design construction. So in the Big Bill Act 185 last year, there's language that says $600,000 to BGS for a 3-acre parcel stormwater planning design and implementation. And Joe Aja, I don't remember if it was this committee or upstairs. He did come and testify that that money has been allocated and spent. He does have a slide that shows how much of that was obligated, how much of that was expended. I've actually pulled those numbers for you some here, so I apologize that I didn't, but I can definitely show you what he said.
but it was used,
He was
just kidding.
So for the purposes for the House Committee, Chairman wanted people to understand that, yes, there was 1.5 million bonded in FY 24 and 1.5 million bonded FY 25 for a total of 3 million bonded. There's also that $600,000. That way, when they go to do markups, they understand the whole ball of wax that, really has to play with in terms of what they need to mark up and potentially change if needed. If there are no other questions on line 14, we can jump down to line 21. And here in the Budget Adjustment Act in 2022, there's language, 1.5 million to BGS to develop and issue the RFP for the State House expansion planning design. And one of the first updates that BGS gave this committee and upstairs, they came in and mentioned that they had that money and they were using that for the planning design. I don't know how much might be left from that. I'm happy to reach out to Joe and Commissioner Fitch and ask that question.
but they said I think in the conversations that we've had, that they did have enough to, in that fund to at least do the schematic designs of what they have been, or I hate to use the word ordered, but asked to do by Joint Legislative Management Council about doing the upgrades for ADA compliance.
That phase 1 section. Yeah. And then we flip the page. We're going all the way down to line 84. So this one had, there's $1.3 million in the big bill, Act 185, but it's made up of 2 parts. So the language states 1 million to Forest Parks and Rec to support compliance with the 3-acre stormwater rule. And there was also $300,000 for Forest Park and Rec for major maintenance. This line item here, you can see infrastructure rehabilitation and 3-acre rule compliance. So the infrastructure rehabilitation improvement would be the major maintenance.
And that's 300?
That's 300. Yep. And then the 3-acre rule compliance would be the 1.3 million is broken up into 2 parts. Plus the bonded dollars between the 2 fiscal years of the 7 million, so they have approximately 8 million, $300,000 for those 2 items. Cross good? Yep. Yep. If we can click to the next page, line 97. For ag and food markets, we can see that they had 3.5 million in ARPA dollars from the VAA Act 83, plus additional $2.4 million in the big bill. And I believe you may have taken or heard testimony, where they had, I don't believe I watched the letter with me. They had sent a letter just stating that they had been given those dollar amounts as well, so that made me feel good that I actually was able to get the bill correctly, because the letter stated the same dollar amounts. Let's see. here.
There's nothing bonded for 25, right?
Correct.
550,000, ain't there?
Oh, there it is. Well, it's in the governor's record.
That's the government recommended.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, yep.
No worries.
Oh, cause that's when they reallocated
Correct. The
from the
government had
big,
taken
from the,
that $6 million, you'll see, the line 106 in Harrison. The governor recommended that line is zero.
Yeah.
But then they split that 6 million up into the other 4 different components.
yes,
That's what they'll draw highlighted.
yes.
Now, the one thing I would also point out on line 97, in that letter, that was sent to the committee, I believe you all had to, have to double check that you had received that. They did talk about additional $6 million of funding that had gone to A&R that should have gone to them, so they're going to have an adjustment. And that was $3 million from FY 24, $3 million from FY 25. So in essence, they would be getting $6 million more for this line item. It's just, it didn't show up in time.
Why is that much money still sitting out there?
I would have to ask, the question to the folks from AR. I know in talking to, finance and management, they mentioned that 3 million was from one year, 3 million was from another, so it's 6 million, which is a bigger number. But Nick Kramer, you met, Nick Baker, to spend a little bit better. Okay, but basically, it's not just 6 million lump sum, it's 3 million across 2 different years. And you can see in FY 24 bond, it was 2.2 million. So about approximately the same. Total dollars.
And, okay. So that's, so we had 10 million last year, we used 4 of it, and then somebody else took the 6 million, and this is the 6 million that come back into play. Okay. I understand it.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind sending that letter again, that would be great, and then,
I should have brought it with me, my apologies.
so this is to ag, the, agriculture, right, from A&R.
Right.
So likely grants to farmers, I would think, for water quality.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other side of the table's got all that money spoken for, Harrison.
I'm not proposing to
Look
take
at,
it,
look
but
at all, they got a fence around it a mile high, you couldn't walk an elephant through that fence.
agriculture makes good fences.
We do a heck of a job.
Now, I would like.
Yeah.
I would like to jump to line 100, but I'd like to make a quick pit stop at line 99. Just to clarify one thing. Line 99 is blue, which if you remember that indicated I moved it from the cash section up into this other section. But if you look at the governor's actual, recommended spreadsheet, that $9.8 million is for, the state match for the IIJA.
Right, that should be sitting in sub-account B.
Correct, exactly.
Okay, you guys understand that? If you don't, holler, okay, very, very important, because we're very curious about where sub-account A is being, which is $11.8 million, $10 million plus the interest plus other stuff. And so, sub-account B is all that match money that we saved out last
Right.
year for the, I always say $250 million worth of projects that we were really concerned about, but, so that's,
Still there.
yep, still there.
But with this, in the budget for the governors, it does have clean water and drinking water state revolving funds. And just to be clear, I moved it here to line 99 with the clean water state revolving fund, but the 9.8 is for both clean water and drinking water. But if you've looked at this and didn't realize that there had been that differentiation, you might think 9.8 is just for clean water. And I apologize for that. The next iteration of this, I'll make sure I spell it out a little bit cleaner so we know that 9.8 is for both.
So last year, it came from the administration, and it was very, very helpful to the committee because I felt like the committee was able to kind of protect their own by going around and showing, the other senators in the building about what these projects were buying for their communities. And I don't know if we just gonna go back to the, administration and ask them for that list again. But it'd be very, very helpful again, as we're trying to fight for this bill, to have a list of projects that money that's being protected is proposed for, even if it's the same list as where it was last year. It was a good feeling to go around and be able to hand out to each person's district where that money was being spent and how it was being spent. And especially if we could have that before town meeting day, as if you were to go to town meeting, my senators could go to their town meeting and say, hey, listen, in institutions, this is the type of dollars that we have coming back to your community. So if that's something that could happen, I'd really appreciate it.
Yes, sir, that'll be good.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. So then, going back to line 100 after a little detour. There is rotation of 585,000 to the Department of Environmental for municipal control grants. That 585 is from ARPA. So that 585 plus the 6 million bonded, 4 million bonded plus the 4 million in cash, for a total of 8,585,000 total dollars to work with for those pollution control grants. And that's what Chairman want people to understand, that there's a little bit more sometimes than just what's in the capital budget.
So when you say to work with, I would have thought this would already be spent.
My understanding is that I have to go look and look my notes thing to see if that had been spent or accounted for. There's been different testimony from different agencies regarding the ARPA dollars. But some of that, I just don't remember which ones had been fully expended, which ones had already been accounted for. My recollection for most of the ARPA testimony is that it already has been taken care of, already has been allocated or obligated. But in some ways, for example, chairmans might say, you have 8 million, you already used 6 million, 2 million was from ARPA, do you really need the other 2 million? And if not, maybe we can allocate that to the development monument or the fish hatchery, whatever that happens to be. So that's what she wanted to have Victor understand the totality of the dollars that we're asking. Going down to the next line item of 102 for forestry access road water quality improvements. This is another one that's a little bit interesting when we go look at the big bill, Act 185. It does have 2 line items listed, and why that happened, I don't know. But one says $500,000 is appropriated from ARPA to Forest Parks and Rec for forestry access road water quality improvements. And then there's another section which lists $700,000 to Forest Parks and Rec for forestry access road water quality improvements. Why there was those 2 separate delineations in the bill, I don't know. But that's why you'll see $1.2 million here. And if you go look in the other section of the big bill, we'll find 1.2, you'll find 500 and a 700. And then the last line item was line 104, 600,000 to VHCB for agricultural water quality projects. And Gus Seeley testified, I believe, upstairs last week, that $600,000 had all that obligated or extended already.
It had been.
I can go back and check my other notes to see what I have or what's the extended obligated. So if you look at the very bottom of this page here, we can see 5 million from Act 83 and 6.7 million from Act 185. So basically 11, not quite $12 million in ARPA funds that will be associated with capital projects. So I want to make sure the committee knew that, that's why I have this brand new version. Yep. And I anticipate you'll see maybe more versions of the spreadsheet as we go through.
Sure we will.
Here.
Sure we will.
But anytime I can, help you answer questions, that's any updates, happy to come in. Here before you guys, and if I don't know the answer, I'll find out.
Any questions?
No, it's
All
great.
makes sense? Getting
Water,
there?
but it's very helpful.
I,
It's all good.
I did take some time to make the font size a little bit bigger.
Yeah,
I try to do that,
Good.
Well, we were more worried about the house because we're not an older committee. We're, so.
it's mostly for my own benefit. I'll say, the house is kind of.
Anything else, sir?
That's all I had, and I
Any questions for Scott?
I will keep you apprised of what's happening in the other lobby.
If you could, please follow up on that as far as new projects out there.
Yep.
Very, very helpful. It's very nice to be able to have something in hand as far as, a committee that they serve to go back and, if they are speaking to their communities to be able to tell what's going on.
Especially with you guys in the sense, because you have multiple towns.
Right.
Absolutely. So that'd be very, very helpful. We appreciate it.
That's good.
Well, great.
Otherwise, hopefully, this concludes your day. You can get out of here early on Friday.
We have a Senate.
Yeah.
Great, I'll